This technique or shape is our high drop stance. We have a double block arm variation we're going to look at with it. So Melaine, go ahead and step into the general shape, and we'll start here by exploring it. Let's come out of this for a second. Let's just look at that way you don't use unnecessary energy. While she's here in the shape, let's take a look at the base first. So what is happening in the feet? Now, to the blind eye or the naked eye or the layman eye, this may appear to be Warrior 2. It looks very similar to it, practically identical, with the subtle distinction being the front foot. But for her, ironically, in this stance, this is the back foot. See, in Warrior 2, this is the front foot. But in the high drop stance or blocking stance, this is the back foot. And that's why it behaves differently. Because in this particular stance, she's moving away from me. So look how she's moved away from me. Okay. Now, if she changes the foot, she's moving towards me. And what creates the difference here is the flexion of the ankle and how it behaves in relation to the knee and the hip. Because when she wants to lunge forward, she has more joint mobility when her foot is positioned like this than when it's turned like this. Because see, notice, look at already the problem that has arisen from that internal rotation. Now her knee is pointing this way, and she's no longer driving her weight in the direction that she was meaning to, which was straight forward. And that's why she can load up and get into this position. A lot of people talk about, oh, you know, the knee can't be over the toes, or the person's leg is going to explode or fall off. Absolutely not true. So many people overemphasize the importance of knee over ankle, but let me be very clear with you. If you're studying as a teacher, the only reason this is talked about is because it is the most common architecture to teach in a room full of people. If there are 30 people in the room, this knee over ankle is very safe, and no one's going to get hurt in this position. The minute people start playing with this position, if they don't understand their bodies very well, they might load up that knee too much, start getting some pain here in this particular tendon, because this tendon is, of course, supporting the body in this bent knee position. So people can get tendonitis from over lunging in this position. So this position is safe for everybody, but the downside of that is it doesn't push you to strengthen beyond that position. So you've got to really, be aware of this when you're working with people. Now, we understand that the foot must be aligned forward for the Warrior 2, but we're teaching right now the high drop stance. So we're going to rotate it back here, and we're going to lean back in. Now, when the foot faces this angle, it allows for her to now start sitting downward. And that's what she's actually doing in this shape. She's moving back and down. So back and down, which she could not do if the foot were here. She could move back a little bit, but going down would not work. You can see that her architecture is now misaligned to allow for her to sit back in her hips. She's then going to sort of transfer weight into the knee joint, and it's all wrong. So rotation allows her to move into a deep half squatted position. So you'll notice that the foot, ironically, but not so ironically, is positioned in the same manner that a squat foot would be positioned, because in essence, she is transitioning into a squat or a half squat position, okay? So now, with that said, she transitions back, and we're gonna add the variation of the arms. So when she shifts back into position, she spreads the arms wide, and now she's got a double block. So now this is just a martial arts variation. You know, her arms could be here, they could be there. It doesn't matter. They could be there. They could be reaching behind her. It really doesn't matter. But in this particular, you know, expression that we use in our style, the Budokon style, this is to reflect a blocking position low and a blocking position high. The fingers are together just as they would be in Warrior 2 or Warrior 1. I don't spread my fingers open because a martial artist would not have their 5 digits moving away from one another, making them vulnerable to be broken. You keep them together, whether it's here or here or here. So in this case, she has her fingers together, and this forms what is often referred to as a palm block position. So now, from here, she is going to transition if you could transition back to Warrior 2 for me. So again, this was the shape that we're going to sort of move between right now, but Warrior 2, notice what happens when she starts shifting back, she starts rotating the feet, forming the high drop stance, crosses the arms, and she gets to this shape. So this shape is fundamentally for building strength, so she can hold her body firm and strong in this deep, you know, high half squatted position. So she's really building a lot of strength in the quad, all this opening here. She's getting some stretching from opening that as well as strength. So rest for a second. So there's a number of different things that are happening in this particular shape. Opening, but at the same time, you know, the big muscles that support the hips and the knees, like a lot of development of the stabilizer muscles. So this is a great shape for people who want to build more strength and awareness in their low trunk. This is all about the legs. It's a stance. It's about, and if you see, if she moves from this stance, can you just move, let's take the arms out of the equation and go to the same stance to your right. So if you'll notice that she goes here in the stance. Now we're getting a little bit more into mobility, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is a shape, and then mobility becomes the transition from one shape to another shape. This is the yogic expression, which is hold the shape and examine the shape and see what we discover within the shape. Mobility is moving from one shape to another and seeing what we discover through that process. So when she comes back and hold again, what we're going to notice is, and this is your double block, we're going to notice that this should be very athletic. She should be moving away from her, you know, martial arts. It would be her opponent. In the yogic construct, it would be moving away from an object, whatever her drishti is focused on. And she's just finding nice stabilization. Neutral pelvis, firm the ribs, shoulders down, arms extending in opposite directions, and the front hand is sort of aligned with in this case, the back. You know, this leg, this would be your back leg come up. I see you know, working hard in that position. So if Melaine comes in here, this extended leg, this arm sort of reflects that, and this arm kind of follows that same line here. So that is our high drop stance with a double block arm variation.